The Vegas Golden Knights missed the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. Now, there's been a lot of finger pointing going around about whose fault is it, what happened, and all that stuff. So I figure, why not talk about it in this video? Why not go over the problems that this team had during the season to this point? Let's talk about some of the problems that can be resolved before the start of the next season. And let's talk about things that maybe just weren't in control of Vegas, whether it's their fault or not, that they were able to do the right things in this season. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. First, we're going to go over injuries. Probably the biggest thing in this entire team. Everyone brings it up. Everyone brings it up when they're talking. That's all I heard in the end of season press conference yesterday was injuries. Now, is it an excuse? It shouldn't be, but when you have this many injuries to very important players, it's going to be a lot of talk. Then we'll talk offense, the miscellaneous, the defense, and coaching, because that's a big, big thing. But without further ado, if this is your first time on my channel, my name is John. This is The Sports Advocate. Thank you so much for tuning in. You might as well stick along because I'm sure you're going to enjoy this. I got a lot of good stats for you guys. But as always, give me a like, give me a dislike, give me some criticism down below. Comment if you think Vegas will be able to turn around and make playoffs next year, and go ahead and subscribe because I have content like this daily and it's well worth your time. But let's go ahead and get right into this. First things first, injuries. You hate hearing about injuries. It's always the biggest excuse, but when you have a lot of them to very important players, sometimes it is important to bring up, and Vegas has had that. A lot of important players have been on a very long time. Riley Smith missed 26 games. Max Pacioretty missed 43 games. Mark Stone missed 45 games. Mark Stone, the captain of the team. Jack Eichel, who they traded for, missed 48 games. Alex Martinez, 56 games. Robin Lehner, at a goalie, it's hard to say how many games you missed. On average, you're playing about 60 or so games if you're the starting goalie. So Robin Lehner missed about 20-ish games. That's a lot of games missed from a lot of important players. A lot. Now, not only is that messing up your lines, who's going to play with who, how are certain game plans and schemes going to work, but you're taking talent off the team. Goal scoring off the team. Defense off the team. Line mates aren't able to work together and do certain things that they're used to being able to do. And this is just, I only listed people that missed 20 or more games. There's plenty more people that missed close to that. William Karlsson missed a lot of games. There's a lot of players. Brett Howden, Braden McNabb, Zach Whitecloud. A lot of people missed games. These were just the people that missed a lot of games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players that missed 20 or more. We have 4 players that missed more than half the season on this team. That's ridiculous. But you can't point all of the problems on the injuries. You can't. It's not in your control, and that's kind of the point I wanted to make, is injuries are bound to happen. Now, there's certain reasons that they may happen more to your team, but it's going to occur. You just got to try and prevent the big injuries, make sure they don't happen to your main guys, and get everyone back in the facility faster. Now, that sounds easy, but it's not. But again, injuries are not completely the fault of the franchise, but it does put a big hindrance on the franchise. This team is a playoff team if they're fully healthy. I mean, Vegas had 43 wins and we're 1 game out of playoffs this year with all these injuries. You cannot tell me that if even 2 of these people missed half as many games as they did, if Mark Stone only missed 20 games, Vegas is in the playoffs. So injuries do make a big factor, but that's not the biggest factor because there's a lot of other problems that this team did have. Certainly scoring and offense was a big problem. They were 13th in goals per game. Good on them. They're in the top half. But they fell off a lot in the second half of the year, and we talked about that in previous videos a lot. They were 25th in power play percentage, which is horrendous. There's 32 teams in the league, and they were 25th in the entire league for power play percentage. That means when you're on the power play, you're not doing good. I feel like this team looks better in 5-on-5 when they do when it's 5-on-4. And the weird thing, I brought this up in a previous video too, was they are consistently scoring when they pull the goalie in at 6-on-5. But when it's 5-on-4 and you still have a goalie, you're up a man, and you have a goalie to protect your net, they're not good at all. Doesn't make much sense. Now they have 8% scoring, so if they shoot the puck at the net, key thing there, they have 8% scoring. Now, what I mean by that is you may shoot the puck, but go wide of the net. So that doesn't count, at least in this statistic. Because statistics for shots are really, really tough to look at. It's like 25% of all shots are blocked. 25% of shots that aren't blocked are outside of the goal, so they're not even on goal. So you're only getting like 60 or so percent of shots actually at the goal that the goalie has to make a save on or put in net. So 8% when it's shot on goal, you're scoring. Now, that's not terrible. That's not terrible. But you would like to see that improve. You would like to see shots get blocked less or shots on the net more. The amount of times that they hit the iron, they hit the metal surrounding the goal, it hurts. Every time you hear it, you're like, oh, you're that close. The goalie couldn't make a save on you. You hit post, you were that close to making it, and the team just couldn't. That sucks to watch. Something very important. A lot of people don't like this. Personally, I do enjoy it. The shootout. Vegas was 9 for 37 on the year, 24% shootout. That's not terrible. There were 0 for 17 shootouts with the season on the line, with the playoffs on the line. 0 for 17. That means your goalie, in 3 games, by the way, that means your goalie gave you a shot a lot of times to score one. And they go 0 for 17 in 1-on-1. You'd think at least somebody would be able to get a goal. At least one. And none in 17 shots. They were also 5th in the entire league for high danger shots, which means so there's low danger shots, medium danger shots, and high danger shots. High danger shots is when it's just really cluttered and that goalie's making a crazy save, or there's rebounds or blah blah blah. They're 5th in the league in high danger shots for the team, and they're still only 13th in goals per game. I don't understand it. It's like the team struggles when they're by themselves. It's like you need all 5 players to do something. I don't fully understand that. I feel like in transition, for a long time, transition was the only way this team could score. But it's like, even in these high danger shots, when you got a rebound sliding out and stuff, I feel like most of the time the other team's clearing it before Vegas even is close to it. And that sucks to see. Now, another statistic here that's kind of important are these miscellaneous statistics. Some of these important stats that are overlooked, that aren't explained, that maybe don't mean much to you, but overall do mean a lot. Now, the most obvious miscellaneous statistic is face-off win percentage. 49.3, you're losing, but you're pretty much right at half. That's all right. You'd like to be above 50% because that means you're winning most of the time in their zone and most time in your zone. So you're either clearing the puck out of your defensive zone or you're able to make a shot in your offensive zone because you won it. But 49%, you'd like to see improve, but you can't complain a ton about that. Now, the team is 4th in turnovers. 4th in the entire league in turnovers. Turning the puck over, passing it, it gets picked off, being careless with it, and someone takes it from you. Anything. And there's some other forms of turnovers too. I think icing might be called a turnover. Penalties clearly are. But they're 4th in the league in turnovers, which just means you're giving the other team a lot of chances. And I mean a lot of chances. And you can't have that. You can't give the other team more chances than what they already have. That's bound to lead to failure. Now, Something that I find pretty important, like very important, especially towards injuries, is hits. Not only that you're dealing them out and you have an enforcer like Vegas did in Reeves for a long time there, but also that you limit the amount that you're taking. And this team does really bad at both. They're 26th in the league in hits, means they're never hitting anybody pretty much. Like ever hitting anybody. And they're first in hits taken, which means they're getting hit nonstop every game all year long. You're number one in hits taken and you're bottom of the league in hits dealt. That's not a good look at all. And that's something crazy compared to some of these previous years when you had Reeves and people like that. It's not good to see, and that's going to lead to more injuries. The more you're getting hit, the more chance you have for injury. And especially, I mean, how many times this year was a hit the cause of an injury? The neck injury on Brett Howden, I think it was. Was it Brett Howden? I think it was. Might have been McNabb. I might be mixing up. There's plenty of injuries out there that was getting shoved into the glass on a hit and hurt my shoulder. Hurt my knee. You know, it's not good to see at all. You need to lower the hits taken at least. If you don't want to deal more hits, fine. That's something you coach. But you need to limit your hits taken. And how you do that, you have to force the puck out faster. Do you just have to have your eyes up and aware? I'm not sure. That's something that you could probably try to coach. But you got to limit the hits taken. You have to. Now, a couple other things. Penalties. We're talking about penalties. Team really bad in penalties. Penalties for and penalties against. But one thing that they do have going for them is they're 24th in penalty minutes. So they don't have a lot of penalties. So they're normally not down a man that often. And that's good news. But they're 28th in penalty minutes for the other team, which means that the other team is getting penalties and you're not getting penalties. And that's not good. And especially when your PK and your power play are not that good. You don't want to be giving more penalties to the other team. So that's something to be aware of. Now, lastly, on the ice-wise stats, we have defense. Something that's really important. And something the team, I feel like, has always glorified from year one up until this point. They were quite good at defense, and they were still able to score. Now, this year, was it because some of these people that got injured were top-tier defenders, no matter what position they played? Maybe. They were second in takeaways. Very, very good. You're taking the puck away, and you're taking the puck away more than you're giving it away. Incredible news. I didn't write this down, but they're top 10 in blocks. They have the number one blocker, like for block shots in the league. And they also have another person in top 5 or top 10. That's great. So you're blocking shots, you're taking the puck away. That's great. Great news for your defense. But they're 6th in high danger shots against. So the team against you is getting a lot of chances for high danger shots that your goalie has to make an incredible save to go get to. And that's not good news. You'd like to see your team help in some way. Whether that's making it hard for them to shoot the puck or sticking at it or being ready for rebounds. Speaking of rebounds, this team is 4th in the league for rebound goals against. So what that means is when there's a rebound, this team is 4th worst for the opposing team getting it back and getting it in the net. 32 goals on the season were from rebounds. That's almost 20% of all goals scored on Vegas were rebounds. And I'd say the average is about 13. That's terrible. Now, is this on goalies? Is this on defense? Bit of both. Your goalie has to be ready to cover the rebound. Your goalie has to be ready to save the rebound. But your defensemen need to be ready to clear the puck or be ready to clog the area so that they don't get an easy rebound. And they're just not doing that. Now, shootouts, we talked about that above. 8 for 36, the other team, against Vegas. 22 shooting percentage. Vegas shot better in shootout the total year than their opponents did. But, like we talked about, 3 games with playoffs on the line went to shootout. 3 of the last 5 games, 3 all in a row, went to shootout. Vegas went 0 for 17. The other team went 3 for 17. Yes, 18% for the other team on shootout. That is incredible. Logan Thompson played incredible. He was broken down inside every time they lost in shootout. You saw him on the ice, and everyone had to come pick him up because he was just like, I did everything. I mean, when you have 2 games back-to-back where you save 6 shots before they get a goal in, I mean, how does your team go 0-17 in a shootout against not very good teams? Not very good teams. And Logan Thompson played amazing. 3 for 17 is incredible. 18% is great. That is great. But it's not enough when you can't score. Now, lastly, penalties. We're talking about them all over the board here. 21st in penalty kill with 77.4%. So when you're on the penalty, you're one of the worst in the league at stopping it from scoring. Now, you're still stopping above 75%, which I'm glad to hear that. But not much more than 75%. 77%. Below 80%. Below 90%. That's not good. Not good at all. I mean, you're giving up good amount of penalties, and you're not stopping them. You're not helping. And your goal needs to be your best penalty killer. But how much of that is on your goalie, and how much of that is on your line mates? Now, I will say something. Vegas in goals against on the year was quite good. I think they were in the top half of the league. They're below 3 goals against per game, which is honestly a pretty good stat, at least for the year, because goals went up a lot. Other years, maybe not so much. So I don't think you blame this on the goalies. And that goes for all of them. Lauren Brossoit, Robin Lehner, Logan Thompson. I don't think this goes all on the goalies. Yes, sometimes it does. Yes, there's games where you let 7 goals in, and that's all your fault because you can't expect your team to go score 7 goals when you're letting some basic shots in. But I can't blame this on the goalies. This is a team sport, and there's only one goalie, and there's 5 players in a line and 4 lines. You're telling me one player is the main reason why you're losing more games and not the other 20? It's not like the goalie's 1-on-1 every single possession. It's 5-on-5 plus 1 for your team. And you're not able to help him when he needs it, offensively or defensively. That's not good news. Now, the most important question I think that most people are saying right now, coaching. Is this coaching's fault? Does the coaching need to change again? Is this front office fault? Well, we're going to stick to coaching because I don't know all the front office stuff, but we're going to go along with coaching. Pete DeBoer was brought in recently. He's done well, win percentage-wise, for the team. Yeah, 65% win-loss record with Vegas. That's quite good. I mean, you can't complain at that. But you can, because he doesn't make the goalie change when he needs it. There was times in this year where there's 3 goals in like 10 shots. And he just left the goalie in. And there was also a game where he pulled Robin Lehner in a tie game after the first period and put in Logan Thompson. Yeah, you're going to win that, but what was that? He commits to a goalie and he leaves him in net. I mean, Robin Lehner got blown out one game and was the starter the next game against a really good team when Logan Thompson was on a 5-game win streak. It's just, I'm not sure what's going on in the head. Yes, you got to be loyal, but to what fault are you loyal? You weren't loyal to Fleury. And Fleury brought so much to this team. But you want to be loyal to Robin Lehner when he's been injured and was struggling for a bit there, coming back from the injury? When you had Logan Thompson, who was hot? I don't like that call. Now, I hope Robin Lehner, his surgery and all that goes very good and he comes back stronger than ever. I hope that both these goalies are 1A, 1B and play phenomenal. And I'm not blaming the goalies. I'm blaming the coaching. When someone's struggling and they're doing multiple games in a row or a lot in one period where every other shot's going in, you got to change goalies. And if somebody's hot, let that goalie play. I don't understand it. And he's always shaking up the lines. Always. Now, injuries do affect that. But I don't think Jack Eichel once stayed on the same line through a whole game. Once. Because he was just like, now you go here. Yeah, you can come over here. Oh, we're not scoring much. All right, I need all these lines to just flip. I don't want a single one of you players on the same line as each other anymore. You're going to go here. You goalie, don't do anything. You're staying right there. I don't care how bad you're doing. You come here. You just all the time. All the time. Lines are changing. I've seen Jack Eichel on the fourth line. I've seen Mark Stone on the third line. I've seen both of them on the first line together. What's going on? I've seen the third line defenseman on the first line for like a long term. Not because injuries, just because he changed the thing and he left it. And then the next game, it's like, yeah, some of those lines might have worked last game, but we're going back. I don't care what you think. We're going back. Jack Eichel, get back on the first line, even though you're not doing good with him so much. Mark Stone, first line. What's going on? When he finds something that's working in the game, he doesn't stick with it for the next game. It's like, I don't understand it. And penalties. I think penalties go on the coach more than players sometimes. Offensively, defensively, all that stuff. Especially discipline. Discipline's more of a player thing. Being disciplined is a player thing. Now, you can coach that. Be like, hey, we cannot give up penalties. But when you're bottom of the league in power play percentage and penalty kill, that's coaching. You can't tell me that's players. You can't tell me every single one of those 20 players is terrible in the penalty. That's coaching. You're not coaching it right. You're not doing practice enough on it. You're not planning schemes. You're not setting up new zones, new defensive setups, new offensive setups, new rotations. That's coaching. That's coaching. And this team's great on the roster. You're looking at roster, you're looking at names. This team is great. And you're bottom in all penalty categories. That's coaching. That's it. I don't even need to go in depth. That's coaching. You can argue with me in the comments if you want. Now, give props to Pete DeBoer. 65% win-loss with the Knights. He's only had 4 losing seasons in his entire coaching career. Every time he joins a new team, they do very well. He's been to the Stanley Cup Finals twice, and he's won one Western Conference and one Eastern Conference Finals. But let me tell you something. Every time he joins a new team, they do great because he joins a roster that's good. And then they go downhill. He's never stuck with a team for more than 5 years. Ever. The Devils joins the Devils. They make the They make the Eastern Conference Finals. They make the Stanley Cup Finals. Great. First year there. Great job. And then as the next 3 years progress, his win percentage decreases until he's below 500. Then he gets fired. Then he goes to San Jose Sharks, and they win the Western Conference Finals and make the Stanley Cup Finals. Good job. And, he did pretty good with them for a little bit. He did improve his win-loss record, and then it plummeted below 500. And he's fired. And now he's on Vegas, and they do really good his first year. And they make a run for the Stanley Cup Finals. They don't make it, but they're right there. They're one game away. And now we see it start to decrease. So next year, does that mean we're going to have a team below 500? Well, I hope not. But history tends to repeat itself. Now, is he on the hot seat? That's the last question here. Is he on the hot seat? Yes, I think he is. He has a meeting later this week on his future plans with the team. In the conference, in the press conferences, he said he hopes to stay another year. He wants to coach his team. Now, he only has 1 year left on his contract. Maybe they just let him play it out and don't bring him back. I think that's the wrong choice. What other coaches can you bring in? Well, maybe I'll do a different video on that since there's only 1 week until we know the final answer on this. I think we move on. I think Vegas moves on. And the last coach that Vegas had, that got fired, had a winning record also. But you look at this roster, and this roster should do better than it has, winning record or not. And that's all it is. Injuries. Is that your fault? Not really. It's going to affect your team, but it's not fully your fault. Offense, defense, and miscellaneous, you're struggling all three. That can't be every single player. Then that's got to go in the coaching a little bit, right? Now you got to split it. Your players have to be able to score, but you got to be able to coach schemes to get them the opportunity to score. Now shootout, I think that's all on the player. That's all on the player, and the players dropped the ball in the last 3 games. You win one of those. Wait, is it 2 of them? I think Vegas was 2 points behind. If you win 2 of those 3, if you score 1 time in 7 shots twice, you win 2 of those, you're in. Especially if you do it against Dallas. But you don't. Whose fault is it? Comment down below your thoughts. Is it the injuries? Was it the coaching? Was it the players? Whose fault is it? Comment down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys down below. But as always, give me a like, give me a dislike. Go and subscribe because I have content like this daily. And if you like this video, I'm sure you like the rest of them. So go ahead and at this end card right here, I'm going to have my most recent video pop up. And I'm going to have my YouTube algorithm recommended video to you pop up. Go and click one of those 2. I think you'll enjoy. I do NFL, NBA, and NHL. Thank you for tuning in so much. Subscribe. I really appreciate it. And always, I hope I taught you something. I hope it made you smile. I hope it made you laugh. That's something that's really important to me. Affect someone else's life in a good way. And lastly, as always, you guys all be safe out there.